The concern over the statement we read from Nnamdi Kanu as released 2 days ago or thereabouts is that this particular conversation right now is staring us in the face, and here is why. He said that his lawyer said that he doesn't have a pending case in court right now. So saying that he will not beg for his release and his lawyer said he doesn't have a pending case in court right now is somewhat neither here nor there, because we remember that after the appeal court granted him relief, we know that Malami went back to the former Attorney General of the Federation, went back to court. And now nothing seems to have been heard from that particular case as it is. So saying that there's no charge pending in court, how accurate is that? If we're going to look at this from the angle of equity and
well, let me
respect for the rule of law.
Let me first and foremost say that that Nnamdi Kanu is not in any way grandstanding. I think he's pursuing his rights as a citizen of Nigeria. Clearly, I'm not a fan of Nnamdi Kanu, having berated the country as much as he could in the past. If you look at the narratives from the radio that was operated by IPOB, calling Nigeria a zoo and all that, which I take a serious exception to. But the fact is, as at today, the fact is that Nnamdi Kanu had gone through the judicial process, and an appeal court had actually discharged him. The Bintanyako had actually given him, judgment, past judgment in his favor, and he was discharged. And immediately he was discharged. That was about October last year. He was rearrested. What I believe is that we are running a democracy. We are a country, and then we must run by the rule of law. If he has been discharged, it's important that he should be allowed to go until you have you file fresh cases against him. If you don't have any fresh matter that you have brought against him, you bring up matters in the name of national security, then let it be seen to be diligently pursued, not just keeping him there for the sake of keeping him there, because you are actually violating his rights. I also buy into the idea that that's Mbazuluke Amechi, an elder statesman, had actually led a delegation, not just for himself, but for other senior citizens. He had met the last administration, and I also recall the feedback from that administration. The president said, let it go through judicial process. And having gone through judicial process, I think that is the best way. Earlier, in an earlier discussion on this same podium, I've actually said that let him go through judicial process. I don't subscribe to finding political solution to this matter. Because finding political solution to this matter, on the long run, you are dealing with institutions. They could also use the same political solutions to blackmail him and then restrict his rights, restrict the pursuit of his rights. So I had always stood for going through the judicial process. And if an appeal court, like they did last year, had actually discharged him of those charges and had freed him, I think he should. That is the right path to go, so that we know that his rights are intact, and then he's not violating, he's not seen to have violated any law in the country. But in this context now, the DSS immediately filed some other charges of appeal. And since then, what we expect is that there should be diligent prosecution, but we have not seen that diligent prosecution. You keep him. Today, he's begging for him to access medical help. Tomorrow, he's begging for the magistrate, at least the magistrate court, to come and see where he is presently being held. all these are neither here nor there. Let's follow the path of law. And if he has been discharged by a court of law, he should be discharged completely. And if anybody is still holding him on, then
yeah, what about the aspect of putting him in solitary confinement?
Putting him in putting him in solitary confinement. It all depends on what solitary confinement and the definition of that solitary confinement. You know, we are talking about, if you look at the charges that were brought against him, charges that tended towards treason. In actual fact, having gone through the process, he's supposed to be held in a correctional center, not what we currently have, where he's being held in a DSS detention or detention facility or camp. But because of the nature of the crime for which he's been charged, yes, that is why I'm sure they are old. But like I said, it all depends on what we mean by solitary confinement.